Thank you for coming, and I hope I give you some good information. Today we're going to talk about the legalization of marijuana and alcohol, and I plan on discussing the social effects. Because despite the harmful effects of alcohol and the beneficial effects of cannabis, alcohol is still socially acceptable and legal, and cannabis is still fighting to be legal and very discriminated against still. How does society portray celebration? You pop a bottle of champagne, you see on graduation they have the cap and gowns and the bottle of champagne. What was acceptable in your social group? Social acceptance has a lot to do with legality. What would your friends think if you said, let's celebrate with a bowl? Or let's head to the weed bar? According to the CDC, cannabis is used by 52.5 million people. That is 19% of Americans. Alcohol has long been socially acceptable, with 71% of adults between the ages of 21 to 29 drinking. 62% of Americans overall say they drink. 38% totally abstain. Humans have consumed alcohol for thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of years, using fruits and grains and fermenting processes. They were used for religious and social occasions, much as they still are today. And back then it was used like currency. They traded it as a commodity. The current day views are changing. Alcohol is increasingly being viewed as unhealthy. 45% of young adults between the ages of 18 and 28 or 34 believe drinking 1 or 2 alcohol beverages per day is bad for your health. Almost 90% believe that it is very to somewhat harmful. The alcohol industry is a $363.33 billion annual industry, with over 2 million jobs in the beer industry alone. The alcohol prohibition started in 1920 to 1933, banning the production, distribution of, and sale of alcohol beverages nationwide. It was brought on by the Protestant prohibitionists who led the way to prohibition because they wanted to cure the world of alcoholism, domestic violence, and barroom politics. They were opposed by the Catholic and German Lutherans, who were big beer drinkers. Prohibition led to a growth of organized crime where people were doing a lot of smuggling and bootlegging. And they produced gin in bathtubs that would cause you to go blind or possibly kill you. The prohibition increased tensions among Americans, and it got to the full depth in the Great Depression, leading to defiance. The government was short taxes from the sales of alcohol, and it put great pressure on the government to end the prohibition. A report commissioned by J.D. Rockefeller, the Toward Liquor Control, helped to face the difficulties of post-prohibition regulation. It gave the government regulation and control guidelines to bring alcohol back in a moderate way. With our neighbors all legal to varying degrees, we are seeing a more serious push in Wisconsin for legalization. Legalization, the prohibition had started in 1911 when Massachusetts began requiring a prescription. By 1933 it was criminalized in 29 states. Harry Anslinger, who was the head of the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, propagated many racist and false statements to enact the Marijuana Tax Act. He's known for saying things like, makes darkies think they're as good as white men, and most marijuana smokers are Negroes, Hispanic, Filipinos, and entertainers. In 1937, the Marijuana Tax Act was enacted. It is the first federal regulation illegalizing marijuana. In 1969, the Marijuana Tax Act is declared unconstitutional. It was ruled it violated Fifth Amendment rights. But in 1970, that was answered with the Controlled Substance Act. It classified cannabis as a Schedule I drug, like cocaine and heroin and many opiates. By 1973, Oregon was the first state to decriminalize cannabis. And California in 1996 legalized medicinal marijuana. And in 2012, Colorado and Washington became the first states to legalize for recreational use. In 2014, an amendment passes the House and is signed into law that prohibits the Justice Department from interfering with implementation of state medical cannabis use. In 2018, the Farm Bill is passed and it removes THC as a Schedule I drug, and it legalizes low forms of THC for hemp and CBD. In 2022, Medicinal Marijuana and Cannabinoid Research Expansion Act is signed into law, opening the road to having cannabinoid health products. The health benefits of cannabis are for relieving chronic pain. They found it improves lung capacity. But I'll give you a full listing of that later. Right now, I just wanted to quickly go over the death rates. 95,000 alcohol-related deaths per year. 10.5 drunk driving deaths. That's 1 every minute and a half. 47.5 thousand deaths due to long-term drinking. Marijuana has 0 from overdose. And I just want to thank you for coming today. And I'll give you handouts when you leave.